Emerging market assets are headed for a monthly loss as declines in Argentina and Turkey spark fears of global contagion. But Credit Suisse's CEO doesn't think the virus will spread. Thiam spoke exclusively to Bloomberg's Tom Mackenzie about contagion risks, the ECB and Brexit.
Well-managed economies are safe. There is no emerging, there's no such thing as emerging markets. There are well-managed and less well-managed economies. Economies that have a current account surplus, but have their public finances in order, so don't run a fiscal deficit, and have significant foreign exchange reserves, are safe. And the market, when people fear contagion, they are wrong. There's no contagion from poorly managed economies to well-managed economies. The countries that have gotten under pressure where it's easy to understand why. It's because they have a significant, often a current account balance problem, and that makes them vulnerable. It's not because they're emerging markets. It's important to manage the fiscal situation responsibly. It's important to be in a current account surplus, and it's important to have significant foreign exchange reserves. And you will find that a lot of emerging economies are in that position. The ones that have come under pressure, whether it's Turkey or Brazil, have more fundamental macroeconomic problems. I was in Argentina 2 months ago, and I met all the senior authorities there, and it's clear that Argentina has some real challenges to deal with, but to extend that to other emerging economies is too simple.
So in terms of the contagion from Turkey in particular, you think that risk is being overplayed?
I don't believe there will be material contagion over time. In the short term, there's always a kind of very strong spontaneous reaction, but it's not justified.
And the impact on European banks?
It's manageable. Banks are in a much different situation than they were back then. You look at the size of the Turkish economy, with all respect, and I'm a Turkey bull. I've done in previous careers very good transactions in Turkey. I'm actually very positive medium long term on Turkey. We can talk about why, but the demography is one of the key reasons why. So no, the banks have reasonable exposure. The banks we're talking about have reasonable exposure to Turkey, and it will be manageable.
Has Credit Suisse had to unwind any positions in Turkey?
No, we have minimal exposure to Turkey, very minimal.
In terms of Italy, we've seen concerns there about their debt, of course. There was reasonable appetite for yesterday's auction, but the yields have picked up slightly. Are other markets underpricing the risk coming out of Italy?
That's a tough question. I'll be very cautious in any situation to say that the market is mispricing things. Look, I am not close enough to that situation to really have a strong view. I think we need to see how things evolve in the coming months in Italy and watch it closely.
Would you expect the ECB potentially to step in at some point to support their funding needs?
The ECB has very clear objectives to try to manage inflation and promote financial stability, and I think it will do what's necessary. We've seen over time. I think the euro is very resilient. I think that the political will behind the euro. I was never worried when we're talking about Portugal, Ireland, Greece, etc., and Spain. I was never concerned because history is very important. Europe has a rich history, and I think that all the decision makers are determined to do whatever is necessary in the end to ensure that the euro continues.
Switching focus to the UK and the inevitable question on Brexit, it seems like the deadline for coming to an agreement has been pushed back, and that raises potentially the risks that there is a hard out for the UK, that there is no deal. You must have thought through and game planned this. What would you say the odds are now of a messy breakup, a messy divorce?
No, look, I'm not going to call the odds on that. We were all asked by the ECB to present plans in case of hard Brexit, which we've done. Everybody hopes that there'll be a reasonable outcome here again to things, which is in everybody's interest.